All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Birdview's weekly workshop. Our weekly workshops take place every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 10 a.m. Pacific Time. We cover a different topic each week, and you can register for our weekly workshops and other events through our website. And how you can do that, I'll quickly show you here. So you can go to our website and click on Resources, Events. And then here, you can see all the events and workshops that we have currently going on. So I'll click on weekly workshop and you can see all the upcoming workshops that we have, as well as the ones that are completed. So if you have already registered for a historical workshop, you can watch the recording here. We do post a list of all the topics as well, like well in advance. So you can pre-register and see what the upcoming topics are. And if anything is of interest, you can go ahead and register for the workshops. You do have the option to sign up for multiple sessions at once. So you don't have to do it on a weekly basis. So that way you can, register well in advance as well. I do encourage you to join as many sessions as possible to learn the tips and tricks on how to make the most of Birdview for your organization. With each session, what we'll do is we'll start with a demo on the topic that we are covering. And then towards the very end, we'll give it about 10 minutes to go over any questions and concerns that you might have. Please feel free to share your questions in the chat box, and we can address them at the end of our session. So our topic today is Birdview's financial module. We'll start with understanding what the financial module is and how it works with our project management activity center, the different types of project billings and what they mean. So we have flat and time and material. And then we'll also learn how the system calculates the labor cost and billable labor and how you can base your project billings on different rate options. We'll learn to add planned expenses as well as actual expenses and how the financial module updates and calculates it automatically. And finally, we'll review the questions that you might have during the webinar, this session, and then we'll conclude and discuss the topic of our next weekly workshop. So to start, we have a project here. So every time you log into Birdview, you come to the activity center, and this is where this is the project hub for all your projects. So how do you access a financial module in Birdview? Well, first of all, financial module is accessible only to individuals who have the permissions to access it. So as an administrator, you can go into the company settings, and under access level, you can identify if certain job roles and access levels have the ability to log or edit actual and planned expenses. If they don't have the ability to do this, they won't have access to the financial module. But as a project manager, if you do, you will have it, as well as all the administrators have the access to financial module as well. So in order to access financial module, you can click, hover over the project and click on financials, or you can go into the details, and on the top right corner here, you can click on the $ that says billing. This will take you to our financial module in the Birdview. So notice that you can see that we have 4 tabs available to you. One is Overview, which gives you all the information based on the remaining tabs. We have Expenses. This is where you log actual and planned expenses. So plan is basically the target or the budget. You can also schedule payments and payments that are received in the payments section, as well as you have the targets tab. So this is where you identify the type of billing, the costs associated with the project, whether it's project expenses or labor expenses, and so on. So a couple of things to note here is the terminology, right? So we have terminology estimate at completion, which means this is the total budget, and we have estimate to complete. So if I go back to overview, we've got estimate to complete, which is ETC cost or billable, which means anything that is estimated or budgeted, which is a target, minus the actual gives you what is remaining. So ETC and EAC will be highly used in this demo today. So let's go back to targets. So by default, we offer you two types of billing type. One is project flat fee, and time and material. So in project flat fee, say you have a project and you're going to charge a flat fee of $2,000, regardless of the labor and project related expenses. You can go ahead and type that in here. So this becomes your revenue. On the left-hand side, or sorry, on the right-hand side here, you will notice that you have targets and the profit section. So in the targets section, this is where the system identifies the costs related to the project. So the very first category we have is the labor budget, which the system automatically calculates, and I will demonstrate how that is, and then planned expenses and any other expenses related to the project. So how does the system calculate labor budget here? So let's go back to our project here. So our project started on July 24th, and it's running until July 27th. We have two tasks here, and Mishna and Fabian have been assigned to this project. Notice that we have estimated hours of 4 hours each for these two tasks. So a total of estimated 8 hours. So we have 8 hours estimated, 2 users assigned to the project. So when the system is calculating the labor cost, it is taking the cost of the user's internal rate. How do you know that? You can go into company settings, and under users, let's say Fabian, because in this case, Fabian and Mishna shared the same rate. Under user profile, you will notice that there's a internally hourly rate, which is $50. So this is what it's costing the organization to utilize Fabian's services for the project. And then you also have the billing hourly rate, and I will show you how this will be demonstrated in the financial module. So focus that we have internally hourly rate of $50. So let's go back into our financial module here. And you will notice 8 hours times $50 is equal to $400 of labor cost. So it's taking the company $400 to utilize services of Mishna and Fabian. So you're going to take and copy this and paste it into the labor budget. And you'll notice that the budget is calculating labor budget as well as any planned expenses. So let's go into expenses. How do we add expenses? We go into the expenses tab, click on the planned, and here is where you can define the project's budget. So in this case, I have $100 of expense 1. Let's add another $200 of expense 2, and then let's say $300 for expense 3. So I have defined that it's going to cost this project $600 to complete this project, right? So you'll notice in planned, it says $600, and estimate at completion, $600. Planned and estimated completion are almost always the same amount. You can also identify if the expense is billable or not billable. So let's say in this case, if an expense is not billable, I can simply say no. And you'll notice up above here, we have given you a visual bar chart. So anytime any changes made to this screen or planned expenses, you'll notice that this chart updates live. So you have in light green, estimate at completion, which is your target. And then dark green will be actual once the expenses are being observed, recognized. So let's go back to the targets here because we are focusing on project billing type today. So in flat fee, you'll notice that you have done $2,000. You've got $400 of labor expenses, as well as $600 worth of project-related expenses. So the system automatically calculates that, okay, your total project budget is 1,000, but your flat fee is $200. So 1,000 less $2,000 should be 1,000 in profit. Variance of 300. I got to see where that 300 came from. Anyway, the other billing type we have is time and material. So in time and material, we have provided you with a list of options here. So we have resource hourly rate, which, as you notice, is the user internal hourly rate of $50. We have customer hourly rate, activity rate, project, and rate card. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll use the hourly rate, and you've noticed that the resource hourly rate has been changed to 800. So now what happens is the moment you change the billing type to time and material, you have an automatic, like a new section that opens up. It says revenue. So this will change based on the project billing that you have defined here on the left-hand side. So the hourly rate was $100 an hour, right? So you have $800 of billable labor. So we know this is correct. So we're going to copy and paste this at the target labor revenue column here. So now your target labor plus your expenses are $1,100. Your cost is $1,000, and your profit is going to get updated automatically. If you pick customer hourly rate, which is defined in the customer card, this will update as well. So how is that coming along? I'll show you here. In project details, we have identified that this project belongs to TrueBlue. They are our customers. So if I go back to company settings and click on customers here and pull up TrueBlue record, I have identified that anytime a project is a TrueBlue and we are using the customer hourly rate, we're going to charge the client $150 an hour, regardless of who's working on the project. So that brings us to, let's go back here. So 800 times 150 gives you 1,200. So we're going to copy this and we're going to paste it here. So there you go. You've got $1,500 worth of expenses, and the profit is updated automatically. You can track profit as an amount or as in percentage. So here you can see it's 33% profit that you're going to make, or $500 worth of profit. Now, if you have a target profit, let's say you have 1.2% of target profit or 10% target profit, you can enter the target profit here. And now you'll notice expected profit is 33%, whereas your variance is 23% because it's incorporating the target profit here. You can also assign rates based on activity rates. So let's say you have 3 activities and they have individual rates. You can set them up at the activity level and you can use this activity rate here. Then we have project hourly rate and rate card. So rate card, in a couple of sessions ago, we had discussed rate cards. So you can select a rate card, and if you have a predefined rate card for your project, you can simply select that. So in this case, we're going to say TrueBlue. And let's open this card. So now here you can see the project managers are being billed at $250 and content creator are $100. So for this purpose, we're going to take $250. And so that brings us 250 times 8 gives you $2,000. So anytime your estimated completion changes, you want to make sure that you're copying that amount and pasting it here. The only time this amount is going to be different from that is if, let's say, you have a variance that you need to, or overhead or variable cost that you need to add to your labor expenses. That is the only time this number will be different than billable labor here. All right, so let's go back to expenses here. So to add a plan expense, simply click on plus and you'll start entering the expenses here. How do we recognize an expense? is simply click on, hover over the expense line item and check add as actual expense. This is a feature that we have added for your benefit to make the administrative process as seamless as possible, so you don't have to go in and enter too much information. So it automatically copies the planned expense and pastes it in the actual. Well, what if your planned expense or actual expense is not what's planned? So let's say instead of $100, we only incurred $50 of expense. You can simply click on that and change that amount. Now, what if your actual expense exceeds your planned budget, right? So let's bring this back to 100, go back to planned, and let's check all of these items, right? And go back to actual. And let's say this cost us $500 instead of $300. So we're going to update that amount here. And notice estimated completion has changed. So before, it was exactly as planned expense of $600. However, because our actual is higher than our planned, which means this project went over budget, estimated at completion has changed as well. So now it's reflecting the new information. You can also schedule payments by clicking on payments, scheduled, and add a payment. So in this case, we're going to say $1,500 and let's say payment 1, right? So this is where you can track if the payments are predefined. So in order to recognize the payment, unfortunately, it doesn't have the exact same feature as the expenses. You will have to go into received and click here and say $1,500 that was received today. And you have the ability to modify the date here as well. Now, let's go back to overview. Here, you'll notice that we have actual cost, estimated cost, and ETC completion, right? So this is taking all the information that has been set in the targets and expenses, and it's calculating here. So right now it says a total of actual cost is, actual expenses is $800. You've got ETC, which is estimates to completion, is $400 because we haven't recognized any labor costs. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to close out of here and I'm going to click and say add time entry. I spent 1 hour on this project, so I'm going to record that. Now let's go back here. So notice how your actual cost has increased to $850. So $800 in expenses that were recognized, plus $50 of actual labor costs that the project incurred. Billable is $250 because of the rate card, the billing rate card that we have picked. It's $250 per hour for a project manager, plus the actual billable expenses were $300. So that gives you $550. Whatever is remaining from EAC, which is estimate at completion, and billable is reflected estimate to completion. And you'll notice the project, the profit here is indicated, like the billable profit is indicated here. The total profit of the project is calculated and indicated here as well as work in progress. So you can hover over to see how these calculations are calculated. So as an example, actual billable, which is $550 right here, plus less actual cost, which is $850 here, gives you a -$300. Same information is reflected on the right-hand side, but this one is on like as a table and columns. So you can review that information here. As a project manager, this table here, or bar chart, indicates the dark green, the actual cost incurred. So as an example, labor cost, we've got $400 that we had estimated or planned, but we have only used $50 worth of services so far. However, expenses are fully complete. And in here, you can see $2,000 are as billable labor, but we have only used $250 and $300 worth of billable expenses. So this is a quick overview of our financial module. And as a project manager, this will help you stay on top of your project budget and identify variances way in advance. So let's say if the project is at risk, it's going over budget, or if it's significantly going over time, the system is designed to give you like indicators here that a certain project needs attention. Any questions so far? Okay. So in conclusion, thank you again for coming to this weekly webinar on financial module. This session will be shared. Oh, I see there's a question, my bad. Is there a way to capture actual labor costs without entering hours? This is something required when you have an external service provider doing certain tasks within a project. So technically, no. You can't capture actual labor hours if you don't enter them in the system. However, if you have an external service provider, let's say it's a consultant or if it's a contractor, what you can do is you can add their expense in here, right? So we can say $500 and say contractor 1 or consultant, right? You can add them as an expense here. So that is one workaround. However, if they're not in the system as a user, it is the system will not calculate any external labor hours. But this is how you can capture that time. Any other questions? Okay, excellent. Again, feel free to send a message to our success team should you have any questions, and we'll be happy to answer those. So as I was saying, our next topic is going to be managing settings in Birdview, and we're going to go over different types of company settings as well as personal settings and how to best set them, because anything that is set in the company settings at a global level is reflected on the front end of the system, and users, depending on permissions, their user access level, will define how they see or interact with the front end of Birdview. And then after that, on August 8th, we will learn about project snapshots and how to create and share them with internal and external stakeholders. So thank you for joining today. I hope this was helpful. Again, your suggestions are always welcome. And if you have any recommendations on topic you'd like us to cover in the future, please feel to send it to our success email. And we will be sure to include in our upcoming webinars. The email address is right here. It is success@birdviewpsa.com. And yeah, thank you again for joining. I hope you all have a great day and see you next week. Thank you.